The courtroom had been buzzing all morning. Reporters huddled outside, cameras blocked, phones confiscated. No one knew what was coming. But then it happened. The air didn't just shift. It cracked open. Jay-Z walked in. Sean Carter, Hova, the mogul, the myth, the man who was never supposed to sit in that chair. But there he was, not flanked by lawyers or hiding behind sunglasses, just walking in like the truth had finally caught up with him. The room went ice cold, and then dead silent. He didn't flinch. He didn't look at the judge, not the jury, not the press. He looked at Diddy, dead in the eyes. They were just a few feet apart, two empires, one about to come undone. The prosecutor didn't waste time. Mr. Carter, do you recall your first business venture with Mr. Combs? Jay-Z nodded slowly. 1999. It started casual, mutual rise, mutual leverage, and just like that, the past came crawling back. Was your relationship built on trust? The prosecutor asked. Jay-Z paused. The answer, it was a blade. It was built on usefulness. Gasps rippled through the gallery. The legend had spoken, not in riddles, in wounds. Did he ever involve you in anything ethically or legally questionable? Jay-Z's eyes dropped for a moment, then rose. I heard things. Saw things, chose not to see a lot more. The prosecutor leaned in. Why not? He answered like he'd been rehearsing it his whole life. Because I was building my empire. Because silence felt like safety. The weight in the room doubled. Every journalist stopped breathing. The judge didn't move. Diddy didn't blink. The prosecutor went deeper. Were there moments where you regret staying quiet? Jay-Z looked like he wanted to scream. But all he said was, more than a few. Then came the bomb. Let's talk about 2010. You were at an event in Miami. Now under federal review. What did you see? Jay-Z sat back, his jaw clenched. It wasn't a party, it was a reset. Phones taken, liquor flowing, but the vibe, surveillance, tension. People were watching each other like prey. And in the line that shattered the illusion, something happened upstairs, screaming. A man ran out, pale. Diddy just laughed, said, he'll be all right. Did you ask what happened? The prosecutor whispered. Jay-Z shook his head. I didn't want to know. And in that moment, every person in that room knew he wasn't hiding anymore. Why are you here now? His voice was low but sharp. Because I'm tired of pretending I didn't know who he was. I thought staying quiet meant it would never touch me, but silence doesn't protect you. It haunts you. He looked into the crowd. I built a legacy trying to outrun the shadows, but you can't outrun what you won't confront. The prosecutor's voice softened, but her next question pierced the air. Mr. Carter, you mentioned silence felt like safety. When did it stop feeling safe and start feeling like complicity? Jay-Z leaned forward, no hesitation. 2016, Los Angeles. It was a private party. Diddy called it an industry reset, said it was for the real ones, no press, no outsiders. But that night, it felt more like a test than a celebration. The gallery shifted, no one moved, everyone leaned in, Jay-Z's voice dropped. It started with a prayer circle. Then the energy changed. People were being escorted into rooms and they didn't come out for hours. She tried to make it to the elevator. Security caught her. Diddy said, handle that. Gasps. Jurors blinked hard. One closed his eyes. And you did nothing? The prosecutor asked, almost whispering. Jay-Z's voice turned to stone. I did what I always did. I left. Told myself it wasn't my business. That if I got involved, it would become mine. The pain was on his face now, not showy, real. That night, I told Beyonce never to be alone at one of his events again. I stopped sending Roc Nation artists, but I didn't go public. I was still protecting the brand, his and mine. Did you confront him? The prosecutor asked. Jay-Z nodded. In 2018, I asked him, what's really happening at those parties? His answer? Jay-Z looked dead into the courtroom. Some things ain't for your kind of mind. Stay focused on your paper, and that was that. The judge sank back in his chair. Even he was rattled. The prosecutor didn't stop. Were you aware of the non-disclosures, the so-called loyalty contracts with Roc Nation staff? Jay-Z met her eyes. I was. I signed one. The room gasped. Again. Why? I thought I was protecting the culture, the empire, but I was just protecting him. And do you believe your silence enabled harm? He didn't answer right away. Then he nodded. Yes, it did. What would you say to the people who looked up to both of you, who saw your friendship as a blueprint? He looked to the jury now, and that's why I'm here. Because what you tolerate in silence becomes your reflection. And in that moment, Jay-Z wasn't the empire builder. He was the man who let the empire rot from the inside and was finally saying it out loud. The prosecutor took a step forward, no paper in her hand, just fire in her eyes. Jay-Z's eyes narrowed, his voice dropped low like he was back in that moment. 2020. My legal team got an anonymous package. No note, just a folder labeled, "The house you helped build." You could hear hearts pounding in that room. Inside that folder, it wasn't gossip. It was damning. There were surveillance photos, screenshots of NDAs, voice memos, and a transcript. The prosecutor stepped closer. A transcript of what? Jay-Z clenched his jaw. A conversation between Diddy and a young artist. She was scared, pleading, asking to be released from something. And what did he say? Jay-Z didn't blink. You signed it. You belong to this now. A collective gasp rippled through the courtroom. A juror looked away, shaken. I listened to that audio 3 times, Jay-Z said, and by the third, I knew. You couldn't pretend anymore. The prosecutor nodded slowly. What did you do after hearing it? I severed everything, quietly, no press, no announcements, just gone. Roc Nation pulled out of every partnership. No more co-productions, no more handshake deals. Did Mr. Combs confront you? Jay-Z nodded, lips tight. 2 months later, he called me. He said, "You ungrateful, after everything we built." And I told him it was built on secrets. I'm done carrying them. That line, "I'm done carrying them," hung in the air like thunder. Why didn't you go public then? The prosecutor asked. Jay-Z sighed deeply, like the weight of his answer had lived in his lungs for years, because I knew what would happen. Turning on Diddy wasn't just turning on a friend, it was tearing down an icon, to the culture, to hip-hop, to black excellence. I didn't want to be the one to burn that bridge. But you're here now, he nodded, because I realized the dreams people had, they weren't mine to protect. They were built on other people's nightmares. The courtroom sat frozen. Even Diddy looked smaller now. Why do you think so many stayed silent? The prosecutor asked. Jay-Z didn't even flinch, because he knew how to make silence profitable. He gave you magazine covers, awards, power. He made you believe your future depended on him. And what made you different? She asked. Jay-Z looked at his reflection in the glass of the witness stand, then back at her. I started caring more about the mirror than the money. The room trembled with truth. I came here, Jay-Z said, because if I'm going to be remembered for building anything, let it be a new standard, not another illusion. He had said it. Finally, the illusion had shattered. The courtroom had fallen so quiet, it was like time itself had stopped moving. But the prosecutor wasn't done. Not yet, Mr. Carter, she asked. In your own words, what was the exact moment you knew you could never protect him again? Jay-Z's eyes drifted. Not to the jury, not to the prosecutor, somewhere far away, like his mind was back in the room where it all came crashing down. There was a night, he said slowly, February 2021, New York, private dinner, 10 people, no press, just power. His voice cracked, not from weakness, but from weight. It started like any other night. Toasts, deals, laughter. But toward the end, he got loud, reckless. He started saying things like, if these women start chirping, I've got leverage. I bury them. Gasps echoed from the gallery. Jay-Z swallowed. People laughed. But I didn't. I looked across the table at his assistant. She was gripping her wine glass like it was the only thing keeping her upright. Eyes down, face pale. Then came the line no one in that courtroom would ever forget. He looked at me, said, you know what it is, right, Hav? We keep this thing tight or it unravels. And Jay-Z? I said nothing. I just nodded. The pain was raw now. No filter, no armor. I got in my car that night and I couldn't stop seeing her face. That was the moment I knew. I wasn't just standing next to the silence. I was the silence. I wasn't protecting the industry. I was part of the machine. His voice dipped even lower, and for the first time, I hated who I saw in the mirror. The bailiff stepped out. The prosecutor stood again, clearing her throat. Your Honor, she said, the court would now like to introduce a former security team member who was present during multiple closed-door events referenced in Mr. Carter's testimony. Even the defense looked caught off guard. A whisper of shock passed through the crowd. The bailiff stepped out. Moments later, Leon Haskins re-entered. But this time, it was different. Everyone knew this wasn't just a second testimony. This was the nail in the coffin. Leon Haskins sat down once more, this time with a steadier breath, his eyes locked forward. He wasn't here to add flair. He was here to finish what Jay-Z started. The prosecutor stepped forward gently, carefully. Mr. Haskins, she said, you were employed by Mr. Combs for over a decade. Leon didn't blink. Because Jay-Z stood up. And when a man with everything to lose stops protecting a lie, the rest of us, we got no excuse left. The words hit like a drum beat in a funeral march. The prosecutor continued, can you tell the court about a night where you feared someone would be hurt? He inhaled. There was a young woman. She came stumbling out of a private room, lipstick smeared, one heel gone. She grabbed my arm and whispered, please get me out. He paused, his eyes clouded. I didn't ask questions. I opened the back gate, walked her straight to a waiting car. I paid for it myself. I never told Sean. The courtroom was beyond still now. No rustle, no cough, no shift. Did you see what happened to her? No, Leon said softly, but I saw what she looked like before and what she looked like after, and that was enough. How many nights like that? The prosecutor pressed. Leon's face darkened. Too many. And the worst part? Everyone knew. Assistants, artists, manager, but saying no to Sean meant saying goodbye to your future. He owned access, and access was everything. She stepped in one last time. Mr. Haskins, do you believe Mr. Carter told the truth? Leon nodded. Every damn word. Did you speak to him after his testimony? No. But I sent him a message. She tilted her head. What did it say? Leon looked at the jury now, not at her. His voice dropped to a whisper. Thank you for starting the fire. A hush swept the room. No outburst, no applause, just the weight of truth, finally cracking open decades of curated image and invisible pain. The judge leaned back in his chair, visibly shaken. This court recognizes, he said slowly, that what we are witnessing goes beyond justice, the dismantling of illusion. He turned to the courtroom, every face glued to him. To those watching beyond these walls, let it be known that fame does not shield you. Legacy does not excuse you. Silence does not protect you, and this courtroom does not serve illusion. It serves truth. He gavelled once, firm, final. Court is adjourned until Monday, but no one moved. Jay-Z had left hours earlier, alone. No entourage, no applause, but his testimony, it stayed. Leon's words, they stayed. And Diddy? He sat in silence, arms crossed, face stone. But he knew this wasn't just about a trial anymore. This was about the walls collapsing around an empire of manipulation, of secrets, of power bought with fear and maintained by silence. The myth had shattered. The courtroom emptied slowly, as if no one wanted to be the first to break the spell. But every step they took carried the weight of a new reality. That Jay-Z didn't just speak up. He torched the silence. He rewrote the rules. And in the ruins of what once was music royalty, he left a message loud enough for generations to hear. No more kings without consequences.